Do I have I know I have everything. I'm panicked because I don't have a character sheet or anything up. Tyler's giving me a drum roll and it's freaking me out. It was very sweet, but I thought that was my blood rushing. Okay, we ready to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Adam, do we need a thing for recording? Are we good?
We are recording as we speak.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to my creepy adventure.
Woo.
I'm very excited to get to play this with you guys, and I am so excited for what you guys have brought to table, and I can't wait to be in it. I'm just I'm not trying to drag my feet. I'm just scared. Um,
That's
in
understandable. We're terrifying.
Ooh. First time playing with us and all.
What is this, year 3, Adam?
Yeah.
All right. So, in the city of
No,
Daggerford.
that's not.
Yes, Tyler? Yes, Ted?
I was talking to my dog. I'm sorry.
Okay. In the city of Daggerford, a town that has been known for its stalwart folk, its bold history, and a not insignificant amount of standard racism. We have a celebration taking place, a very small one, moderately so, but one that is heralded by people in the streets, and more importantly, everyone who was within the Castle Daggerford, Castle Manor. Um, uh, the town itself has recently found itself under threat of uh, of a dangerous small group of religious radicals who were exhuming and stealing secrets from an enclave of druids not far into the green forests just north of Daggerford. And in a kindly show of heroism and generously rewarded for such, the House of the Crescent Moon and many of its affiliates managed to find enough strong, stalwart folk who were capable of usurping this cult before things got out of hand and the city itself came under proper threat. As members of this guild have returned to the area, and word of their victory has gotten to Daggerford, the Duke herself, Morwen, has offered to host everyone at her home in celebration. Anyone who is a member of this guild who has entered the city of Daggerford is pretty well immediately recognized, as every member of the House of the Crescent Moon is readily and obviously apparently a lycanthrope or a shifter or some skin changer of some kind. And while ordinarily this puts many of the people at unease, the news of their acts of their heroism have gilded their road. Headed towards the manor estate, we have prominent surviving members of the house. Um, leading the way is the housemaster himself, a Firbolg, who is whose thick fur and pelt and russet hair reminds many of the bearing that his shape shifting form takes, that of a huge bear, greater than any of you have ever seen. Following close behind are lieutenants of his, a creature who shifts most often into fauna of prey kind, and antlers crest her brow. Um, and then to his other side, a half orc gentleman whose serpentine scales and tail remain permanent features of his body. Many others follow as well, each of you amongst this number. A good 8 11 or so of you, a number significant enough that you can handily be recognized, but a number small enough that you remember those you have lost in the past few days. To the manor you are brought, a stout, uh, wide building that sits atop the highest hill in the city, overlooking the town itself and over the ocean. And the guards in blue livery offer you passage into the house itself. The building is not particularly well lit, and has in its folded tapestries and hanging draperies evidence of lingering dust and age of a castle that is kept not for its appearances but for how defiantly impenetrable it has been for hundreds of years. We're brought to a great hall where the Duke herself again hosts what is not yet, but smells to be promisingly a broady night of celebration. The frame of the Duke is that of a shorter, broad shouldered woman with light hair and a stern brow. She fights hard and plays hard, as they as has come to be known as part of her reputation, though very few have seen her in light spirits. And it is just so tonight. The firelight in the fireplace catches some of the stern and permanent wrinkles upon her brow, and each of you are found seats at the one of the many long tables that is provided to the guests. Many fair nobility of the town, though that speaks to very little. Mostly merchants and some select common folk have been offered seat here for the evening. Um, it is the case that you and your kind are the outliers here, and that is not unnoticed by anyone else. As food is served and the night begins to stink of wine, people begin to show cheer and an enthusiasm that has melted from the Duke's stern stare, and everyone begins to become more familiar, more companionable with these strangers, the shifters in their midst. And several questions are bandied about by many of the commoners. Where do you come from? How did you get here? What has brought you here? And what about our place made you stand on our front lines? And the answers that are handed out mostly in curt response by the housemaster is simply that it is the right thing to do, and we were there. This is not an uncommon thought for him, simply that he is a kindly person who believes very much in the goodness of the world and believes that it can be defeated with brute force. Um, this is something that is obviously in agreement with Morwen Daggerford. She herself uh, remains somewhat aloof from conversation with your table. That is until the timing feels absolutely perfectly right, where there has been just enough mead passed around and just enough food taken in by you and your companions that everyone is a little rosy and pleasant and happy to oblige her, and her stern voice rings out in the great hall as she stands near the fire in a place perfectly located so that she may echo without speaking too loudly. And she says, "We are honored to have you and your company with us tonight. It has been some time since we have let such strangers beyond our walls. However, with you here, there is something that I might ask. Many of you, and bless all souls that have so passed, have fought valiantly and have lost much, keeping Daggerford safe. We think then that perhaps it be no small request that there be one last thing that I ask of you. A simple matter. You are familiar enough with wild creatures and people that can be threats to our city and our peace. And there has been one such that has made their appearances in the past fortnight. They have not crossed our walls, though many of our guards have found themselves charmed, cursed, or affected by players in colorful wagons that have been traveling in these lands. We ask for very little of you and your number, but perhaps this last thing we could. Come dawn, should these strangers not have been properly made aware that should they stay within a mile of my borders, their wagons should be burned. You have the opportunity, nobles, to stand as messengers for them, couriers, if it is not so dangerous, then, as what you have just overcome. And as she finishes her request, she takes a drink from her goblet, and a few members of your company kind of share curious and kind of dizzied looks, and um, one sort of sheepishly calls out to her, "Is there a threat they pose?" And her response comes back, "Travelers, merchants, and guards of my people have come with loss of memory, and curses placed upon them, affecting their sight, their ability to walk. Each of them have described figures within this traveling company. You need not take violent action against them, should you not desire to. But at the request of the Duke, I ask that you pass this message along. We will not tolerate them within our lands any longer." and it is suddenly very quiet. And the housemaster looks at those of your number who remain and says quietly, "They deserve a warning if she is going to act. Perhaps they even deserve than that." And as his old eyes kind of look amongst some of the others, he says, "Who might be yet strong enough?" And several who remain wounded and scarred and carry an exhaustion of the trek home, uh, their eyes falter.
Ariam will very quietly just put a hand up, not say anything, but just raise his hand.
Yeah, seeing that, Cesarek will put 2 fingers up in the air.
I believe my companions and I would be more than happy to undertake this task.
He gives a wearied smile and he says, "May you only be messengers, and I hope that you may not have to stand guard. We do not work and are not the servants of the master of this house." And he turns his broad frame back towards the center of the hall, and he says, "The House of the Crescent Moon shall extend your message to these strangers." And there's an unusual coldness in his tone that marks his disdain. And there is some quiet for a significant part of the evening at that point. Uh, and I want to give the opportunity here, if any of you would like to say or do anything specific with anyone who might be at this space. I know it's a broad ask. It's session 1, but
Ariam will find a quiet moment to speak to the housemaster,
Mhm.
and just ask him, if you don't mind my asking, is there exactly a reason that we are perhaps not as willing to help the Duke? We have. I realize we have done much, very, very much recently in assisting them, but this seems like a small enough thing to do. After all, the people here in Daggerford do deserve the safety that we have all just fought for. And he will gesture at everybody who is wounded, some certainly far more than others.
he nods, and what he says to you is, "With as many as we have lost, and as many as we have wounded, folks who have the ability to harm in a more real sense than with blades, I cannot risk that any of us be put in harm's way more than necessary. We have lost many already, and this is her grief, not ours."
Yes, yes, that is true. I simply worry that the peace and safety that our family has given its lives for may be at risk. This should be no difficult task. A simple message.
A simple message. And should it become more than that? And he gives you a look, and you can just read that he's saying, like, be careful.
I expect these are simply travelers who have found, uh, who are unaware that they have found themselves within the lands of Daggerford, and perhaps they can understand that with everything we have gone through, that now is simply not the time for visitors.
He nods. And while we have a little bit of a spotlight on you, Ted, could you describe the appearance of your character?
Oh boy, my little weird fish dude. He is 5.5 feet tall. He is very slender, even for that height, with silvery green skin and deep green eyes. Where he should have hair, it looks almost more like there is kelp growing out of his head, except that it is a very dark blue, and it is just hair sort of clumped together, purposefully, not just like unwashed. Um, he is in um, plain, if well-made clothing, pretty pretty nondescript outfit, just you know regular boots and breeches and a shirt. He does have a series of silvery marks that show up against even the greenish skin that he has, all over his face and his arms, and the tops of his feet that are visible.
Okay, thank you. I'll extend the space to either Tyler or Adam if there's anything any of you would like to do or say.
And just enjoying the food and casually swapping stories. Nothing that needs like, no actual conversations though.
hmm And what is the appearance of your character?
Uh, just, I had a word. I gotta look it back up. Tall, uh, svelte.
What?
Nice.
Uh,
What?
it's a word that I learned today.
It's a
It
good
means
word.
slender and elegant.
Yeah.
Um, wearing like very well kept armor, lots of silvers, no real like golds or anything, just very like silver and blue color pattern. Um, I think. Oh, I don't have a height written down. Oops. Um,
Impulse decision. Not 5'11.
5'9". Um, I don't know. I
Subject to change. To be
uh,
announced.
um, dark skin, glowing eyes, white hair. Um, the look in the eyes is piercing. You can't really see like an iris or a pupil or anything, but it is just um, uh, a dot of glowing silver amidst like a field of black. Um, just kind of piercing. Uh, very laid back. Very like relaxed in their position or uh, stance.
hmm is there anything that Adam you would like to state?
Um, yeah, Zezarak is just sort of leaning back in his chair, taking the whole room in. Um, not eating very much, but nursing his cup of ale. He is a lithe individual, um, wearing very basic, very plain leathers. He has very dark blue, almost purple skin, um, white hair, eyes that have are unless you're really up close, they look entirely white, but you can make out an iris and a pupil if you're, in sort of space to have a personal conversation with them, and they glow very faintly. Um, you can see extending up through the neck of his leathers on the left side of his face, or left side of his neck, and extending up to his cheek. Um, some tattoos that appear to be stars and perhaps some other celestial bodies. Um, w- whether or not they are representative of some actual formation or just for decoration, as well as how far down they extend and how comprehensive of the tattoos are underneath the leathers, is really anybody's guess. Um, he seems to be waiting for both the attention of his older brother and for, how do I pronounce the name, Ted?
Arium.
And for Arium, for the sort of triumvirate to refocus so they can discuss um this new directive from the housemaster. And also, just because I feel at this point someone's got to say it, he's 5'11".
All right. With time for everyone to either find their comfort or significant discomfort, I think the three of you have the opportunity to speak together while you are here, unless you would like to, unless any of you have give reason to. Uh, uh, oh, I got up for a second and I was gonna read your name. Um, uh, Zizorak's attention.
Yeah, after his conversation with the housemaster, Arium's good to speak to them, to the two brothers.
Mhm.
Well, I know we've just been directed, but do we have a plan for how to accomplish this?
I mean, we just go and talk to them, I suppose. Uh,
Yes, but I guess the question at hand is, do we just camp out a mile down one of the roads into town and wait for these individuals to come by? Or do we go in an active search? Or some other strategy that I have not thought of?
well, it sounded like they were already within the mile somewhere. I'm sure they said colorful tents and carriages. I figure they won't be too difficult to find. Sounds like a bunch that would stand out.
Yes, and I imagine we will have some direction, given that they have apparently been accosting the guards. We can find out where the last of those incidents was. They shouldn't be too far from that location.
Excellent points. So I guess come tomorrow morning, we'll perhaps speak to some gods if that's necessary, and then just start out on the road. And uh, I guess you're right, Zell. It does sound like they are not making themselves scarce, so we should find them without too much effort.
Fantastic. Well, work tomorrow, party tonight.
Fair enough. Raises a glass of ale.
Yes, I shall wait a little longer before I excuse myself to back to the house. There are only a few acolytes and trainees, and that just makes me nervous.
I might have gotten myself a little tongue-tied. I get myself lost in long sentence clauses. I apologize. You have until dawn to deliver this message.
Ah,
Oh, right. S- Well, I have not been in partaking so much myself. Perhaps if we are
um,
ready, we can walk off some of that.
right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What was that, housemaster? Oh, you mean now? Oh, my
It's
apologies.
getting, it's going to get darker. I understand. I understand.
Okay. Well, we'll take a couple for the road.
that
Okay, let's book it.
that does explain why everyone's looking at us the way they are. We understand. We can take a hint.
Plus, I'd better get McCormick out of here before he is consumed by someone. He picks a little crab up off the table. It's a little blue and red crab.
Before you go, the housemaster, um, not often one for like carrying large amounts of things, but these were many artifacts that were remains from fallen, and perhaps some things that he does carry upon his person. Um, uh, Out of a satchel, he hands each of you small bundles of things, kind of wrapped in what looks like possibly blood-stained leathers. Um, Mostly just wound, kind of hastily, things placed in these little bindles very quickly. Um, and he says, "These might help you and keep you." And each of you are given some of the equipment, some of the specialty equipment anyway, anything you might not have already had, for your positions specifically.
Ah,
Um, yeah, nothing of, not, there is less ceremony, more the heavy tone with which he is passing torches, very apparently, to each of you. Um, some of these are smaller than others. Zezarak, you have within this small parcel, um, uh, just a marked stone, a crystal that has an opaque surface and is carved with a phasing moon. And as the light catches the engraving, the phase shifts. Uh, and there is a spyglass given to Zeldrin, um, one of a surprisingly immaculate make, with a lens that is entirely dark. And then, Aram, you are you are already in possession, I believe, of your things. These would have been given to you some time ago, if that is all right with you. All right. Um, and you are sent from the hot, like the body warmed room of the Great Hall out into colder passages of the castle and then out into what is a significantly colder night. It is. It is a rather warm summer's day, but comparatively, the outside with the ocean air feels quite cool. There are guards who stand outside the castle once again, and you are given the opportunity to either speak with any of them or just go.
Yes, hello. We understand that very recently some of your compatriots have been dealing with individuals in colorful wagons and have come away a little worse for the wear. We have been dispatched by the Duke, and we are hoping that one of you can direct us somewhere. Or at least maybe you know where it happened to one of your friends.
If you follow the main road out of the town, there's a um, I mean, they're all in wagons. They usually stay near a road. You know, you, Thomas here, she sort of gestures to another guard nearby. You were there a couple nights ago, right? And he sort of nods and he says, Yes, 3 days ago I was on the road. They were out still at night. They keep their fires lit and they are loud. We didn't really approach, but definitely took note of them. Hard to miss.
Wonderful. That should make this task even easier.
Do you head out?
Hmm.
Okay. Walking out of town is simple enough, and is in fact probably more ordinary for any of you. As close as the House of the Crescent Moon is to Daggerford, it is certainly not a building or a house that is kept within the city walls, and so leaving the uh, leaving the ordinary and gray stone buildings of this place, and exiting the city walls itself, which are kept open as the guests are guests of the town. uh, you all head out onto the road and into the darkness. Do any of you bring a light? I know you can all see in the dark, but I'm just asking if any of you bring a light.
I will light a torch.
Okay. Simply enough, walking down the road, you find underneath the starlight there is almost an immaculate quiet. But some maybe half mile, maybe quarter mile, closer than you probably would have expected, outside the city, there is pulled off from the road. You see them before anything else. A bright glowing warmth of what looks like it could possibly be a bonfire, a very large bonfire just off of the road. But as you get a little closer, a little easier for Zeldrin to see than the others at first, it's not the fire that is glowing, it is the bright painted wood of the wagons that are circling around a few small fires that are reflecting such light as to make the entire encampment glow almost mystically. And as you get closer, you can hear these people. And in exchange for the polite uh, silliness that can come with nobility and nervous common folk all drinking together, you hear what is like the spitting and laughing and shouting that comes from people who are very enthusiastically drunk together, who all know each other. Uh, there is no somber note amongst any of these people as you approach. You see people who of all kinds. You see some gnomish folks and halflings. Um, oh, okay. Um, some dwarven kind and human folk who are all within this encampment. Maybe 4 wagons between them, each curtained and extravagant, but also quite old, just very well loved, each of them. Um, and these people do not see you coming until you're probably very close, which they only do because someone notices the flame. Uh, a dwarven person sort of falls over backwards upon being approached, and someone says, "Hey, hey, hey! What are? We're not here to make any trouble. We're just waiting. Sorry about that. Is here? You could move along if you need. We'll we'll be out of your hair soon."
Well, what are we waiting for?
The dwarven individual kind of sits up a little bit and squints at you, and I'm so sorry, and says, "Oh wait, uh, Stanimir, Stanimir!" And he shouts a little louder, and a uh, pretty old and balding and bearded human man with deeply tanned skin and like a graying in his beard that kind of implies he once had very dark hair. Uh, uh, Sort of sits up and he says, What is it? What is it?" He says, "Are these them?" And he leans forward. You could kind of see, like a little bit of smoldering in his beard as he gets a little too close to the fire, and he sits back abruptly. "Y- You three, could you come a little closer?"
Hi. Yeah.
I'll step a little closer.
Yeah. We are simply here on behalf of the Duke of Daggerford. She has bade us to let you know that, given the recent events in Daggerford, we are currently not Daggerford is currently not accepting any guests at the moment, and asks that you would go beyond 100 miles of the border. I understand that that is a tall distance, but still, as soon as you could.
Oh, 100 miles. Oh, that shouldn't be a problem. Ratska, can you get an eye on their? Can you check their ears? And a and a halfling gentleman sort of walks up to you guys and squints. No, I think it's got to be them, right? It's got to be them. It- 1, 2, 3. Is this one? And he sort of points at Arium, and there's some like murmured confusion and like and not debate, but interest between the people who are circled about. He's got
Is there a problem here?
we're we're looking for some folks. You're probably, I mean, you look a lot like them, actually. I think we're we were told, we're sent. We have a friend who's looking for help. She's a very wise woman, Madam Ava. Very kind woman, member of our kind, and really, we owe everything to her. She's asked us to find 3 figures, 2 of one kind, and a third of his own. We're told to wait.
Sorry, you called this person Mother Ava?
Madam Ava.
Madam Ava.
Yes. Yes. I might have slipped that one up.
Nope. I just got my notes going late. That's all.
Two of one kind, one of a third. We were asked to share a story, and if you wouldn't mind, we've been here some time waiting for you to arrive.
Uh, and you have been waiting here and enchanting the guards, waiting for us. You think?
It had to get your attention somehow.
I mean, I do believe you could have simply tried knocking, coming and speaking with us. But
I didn't know where you
regardless, we
were.
are here. We are here now, I suppose.
Come take a seat. And several of these people scoot away from the fire and make room for you.
I see no reason to turn away from a story. Our message has been delivered, though I think the severity might have been a little lacking. They did offer quite a threat should you still be here come dawn. So probably not good to linger too long, but I do enjoy a story.
No, no reason to be coy, Zal. Any of folks in carts like yours that are here within the 100 miles come dawn will have their carts burned.
There's some whistling from some of the people, and the man indicated as Stanimir says, "That should be a concern. Once we've told our story, we'll be able to leave."
Very well.
Yes, please continue, or begin rather.
You have bowls of wine passed your way, and Stanimir takes some himself. He sort of swishes it around in his mouth, and then he spits it into the fire, and suddenly the light from the flames turns a vibrant blue-green, and in the light there is a dark shape, a small figure in the core of the fire. We come from a place quite far away. It is a land that was once a noble feudal place with lords of great wealth and conquering power. But us common blooded folk, our enemies have forced us from our homes generations and generations ago. And now we make our land wherever our carts and our wagons may take us. The dark shape that is in the fire, as it begins to form into that of a man, you see that this figure is also then atop a horse, and there is some mysterious force strikes the man from the side, and he is dropped from above as the animal flees. One night, as our people were traveling, some time ago, there was a wounded soldier who staggered into our camp, and he fell. We have never been the kind to turn away any who are hurt. It is the tradition of our people to welcome those who need a home. So we offered one to him. We brought him back to strength. We helped him recover from his injuries, and he managed to survive. He did not offer any name to us, for until that is, till it was perhaps too late. All he told us at any time was that he wanted to return home, and that we had found him in the territory of his own enemies. So we protected him, helped him hide himself, and he told us the directions that his home his homeland stood. Whenever we were accosted, he fought like 10 men for a day. He could defend us from any creature, any force of nature. It was incredible the power this man wielded. And you see the figure inside the fire wielding a sword, and his hand sparks in the fire and ignites in many colors, and shadowy figures of uh, gigantic monsters with tentacles and sludgy forms, or hairy beasts, or uh, wild men accost him, and each one is struck down repeatedly by his own hand. He told us he was a prince, and we believed in the nobility of his actions. Brought him to his home, and he told us that his life was owed to us, and that we were given the sanctuary of his homeland. Since that time, he has told us of a curse that has befallen him. He is no longer the noble man that many of us have heard, or even that some may remember. Madam Ava has asked that we seek spirits of nobility, heroes, strong, good-spirited people to help remind him of the man he used to be. Perhaps it will soften his heart, and those within his realm who do not have his protection as we do may once again see joy. Madam Ava told us that perhaps you, or at least folks who luckily enough could have been exactly like you, might have that within your power.
Is it a
That-
far trek to this land where so many suffer?
We have the guidance of our prince that will get us there swiftly.
I don't mean to be incredulous or anything, but exactly how is it that this Madame Ava, uh, one, knew exactly where to find us, but two, what is it perhaps that she expects us to do to remind this cursed prince?
There's a gnomish girl who's quite lovely and has a very sweet smile, who says, people of our kind are gifted with all sorts of tricks and powers, and there are seers amongst our kind. Madame Ava is the greatest seer of all of us. If she saw you, it means she saw that you had goodness within you, and that she thinks that you might perhaps speak to or convince the prince to allow freedom for his people. You wouldn't be the first that we have sought, but at least in my time you would be likely some of the first to actually come along.
Does this prince have a name?
We Do not speak his name outside of his realm. It has brought us great misfortune in the past.
And does Madame Ava want to see us before we venture off to assist this prince, or are we to head to the prince's assistance immediately?
Should our travel be gracious, and should Mother Night protect us, then we should take you directly to Madame Ava, and she may offer you more insight.
And this will convince you to leave the realm of Daggerford, then?
We came here to seek one such as yourselves. We should take you to our homeland, and we should not need to return.
Yes, but if we needed to return, there would be. I mean,
There's
a
some looks of
ride.
confusion between many of them.
I mean, once we've spoken to this prince, we're not expected to stay forever, I assume.
I would assume you could return. Never had anyone return.
Well, that does not sound promising. Um, as I think I can speak for all three of us when I say we would most definitely like to be able to come back. Um, but clearly, you left this land. You must know a way out.
It is a blessing of ours, the Vistani, given to us by our Lord, that allows us passage to and from this land. Should you travel with us, we might be able to provide you escape, but I cannot promise it.
I'm sure
Well,
should the time come that we need to skedaddle, the lunar lady shall see fit to provide us a path.
well, I trust you, brother, but you have more faith than I do. Um, the fact that we must rely on them, and then it was just described as an escape. Um, well, doesn't sound like the most comfortable of situations. Perhaps we should talk to the housemaster before we make any decisions. Do you think?
Your time,
Yeah.
with your time with us, it should be known you have very little remaining which to make a decision.
Yes, I imagine that the time we would take to go back to speak with the housemaster, make it back to Daggerford, and then through Daggerford to the house, it would leave very little time for us to return here and make it well enough away from Daggerford before the Duke's forces arrived. I will simply have to send him a letter to let him know what has happened at some point.
Well, I could use this to send a quick message, and I pull out the shard.
Wonderful.
just so he's
Um,
not worried that we're not returning. Um, uh, Housemaster, we have found these individuals and are following them, for they have said they like us to meet with a Madame Ava. We'll send more details as we get them.
Travel safe. May you be protected.
I'll put the shard away. Well, he is now aware and had no protest. So sounds like he trusts all decision making on this issue.
well, then I suppose the sooner we away, the sooner we can meet this prince and return. And these folks can be far enough away from the Duke's borders. The people can rest well.
Agreed. Looks like our partying will have to wait for another night, brother.
I think I'll manage. When a call to adventure is placed before you, it is not those who turn away from it that wind up in the songs of the patron of bards.
Too true.
Mention I'm more than a little not concerned. I am more than a little intrigued by this Madame Ava, a seer of some repute, apparently.
Yes, it is a tradition. The women of the Vistani, particularly, have an incredible gift of sight, foresight, and farsight. Uh, Demir, he turns to the gnomish woman, who nods and pulls out a deck of cards that she has wrapped in ribbon. They're very worn and have a very large place, face. That's the word. Um, would you like to demonstrate? And she smiles and she looks at any of you. Would you like a reading?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have fun, and I'm going to do a real card drawing for you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Let me just bin. All right. She has first. Uh, 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 Ted, can you give me your character's name again?
Arium.
Arium. Okay.
Arium.
Okay. Arium, you are first asked to. She divides the deck into two decks, one significantly smaller than the other, and then has you shuffle the larger of them. And it'd be cool if you were here, but that's just generally the case. All right. Card you draw depicts that of an old man who is hoarding a chest. Uh, um, he's draped in old furs, and she reads the name the Miser to you. And let's see. She tells you of someone who fears that you have hoarded information and have withheld something from him so deeply, passionately, he has sought his own means, the wealth that he wished to find, knowledge that he sought. he has taken of his own accord. And then she has Zeldrin shuffle the deck and draw a card. And there is the face of a man who is wearing a mask and is smiling, a coy individual that she refers to as the charlatan. And she says that you should beware individuals who have an uncertainty in their belief. Their faith and their own knowledges are fallible, but their own motives, their own desires, they will shift their faith to their own ends. She looks to you, Zezarak. Do you wish
Please,
to know a fortune?
please, I'll be happy to shuffle those cards for you.
All right. Do, do, do. I should have turned my camera on so you could see that these are actually the cards that I'm drawing, but I trust you to trust me.
We do.
Speak for yourself. Not kidding.
I was just told not to trust people. Miles, there's so many things under the coffee table.
The card that is drawn by your hand, Zezarak, is that of an armored soldier who boldly marches into battle on horseback.
Hang on, buddy.
She names as the warrior. Um, and she tells you that the art of force and the brute strength of will, they are insurmountable, but they are also fallible forces. Should that will be put to false ideologies and poor wisdom, they are certainly to lead to destruction. Madame Ava is a better reader than I. She's the better reader out of anyone. I won't know what your past, your future, or your present may be. I only know a truth. Madame Ava is much better.
I thank you for the reading nonetheless, and hopefully when we reach this Madame Ava, we can be even more impressed than we are right now. Which sounds sarcastic, but I assure you I am in fact impressed.
You did a wonderful job. It's the first time I have had cards read for me, and it has whet my appetite. So I thank you, and I look forward to experiencing the skill of Madame Eva with which you speak in such high regard.
She smiles. Well, if we are to be gone by dawn, perhaps we should. Are we fit to travel? She looks around many of her drunken companions, who some of them kind of snuff and snort, but the nice thing about horses is that they're pretty good on their own. Are you prepared to
there-
travel?
Yeah, is there anything we can do to help to get us all ready to go?
Stay near the carts. As we travel, the sense of the Lord will strengthen our master. He will know we are coming. Stay close. And the Vistani camp breaks. The fires are doused. And several people climb into the wagons to sleep. And a handful climb to the head of each one. Hey, to you want to show me something? To drive the wagons on. Is there anything anyone would like to make remark about your travel as you walk through the night?
Does does this seem like a good idea to either of you?
Oh no, 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 no. Most certainly not. This is um very suspicious and um well, incredibly um off-putting, if I'm being honest. But it's also the easiest way to get these people away from Daggerford, and these people deserve to be safe, and the people of Daggerford deserve to feel safe given everything that they have gone through very recently. If our traveling with these individuals is the fastest way uh, to enable both of those things, then it is perhaps
Well, thank you very
a
much.
simple price to pay.
Thank you very much, Ariam, for putting my mind at ease. I thought I was going crazy there for a minute. It just seemed like a bad idea that we were all just rolling along with. But I think you speak with some good sense that, look, the Duke wants these people away. They want to get away, but only if we go with them. So, yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about it that way, but the easiest thing to accomplish the safety for both parties is for us to just go with them, hear this Madam Ava out, and who knows if we can help this unnamed prince. I guess we'll do what we can, but otherwise, once we've moved these people along and heard Madam Ava, we can get back to the House of the Crescent Moon and be on with our business.
Yeah, I'm certain we can find our way back. That shouldn't be too much of an issue. And and he kind of looks around to make sure they are not being overheard. I'm also fairly confident that we are in no danger from these individuals. I mean, beyond the fact that they don't seem like they are threatening us, they have not actually hurt any of the guards that they have dealt with. Um, Simply scuffled up them a little bit. Beyond which, I'm fairly certain the three of us could defend ourselves should anything arise.
I've got a good feeling. Think whatever it is that this brings our way sounds uh, interesting and exciting, and I mean that's what I'm here for, at least.
Well, then, I hope that your instinct proves true and we have, well, some interesting business ahead of us. Hey, do you think we're going to have to walk through the night?
It is my
Uh,
favorite time to walk.
yes, but, I mean, there are enough wagons. Surely. Well, I suppose we'll see how long the trip goes.
The trip begins stretching through the dark hours of the night, and it is, even gauging by the moon, a little difficult to tell how late it is. You hear singing to help keep those who are driving awake, some more chatter, some conversation. You overhear a story about um, uh, an epic battle. Uh, um, Hints of little picked up bits of story. Mostly, I'll give to Zeldrin for passive perception of the prince in combat with an armored sorceress who was thrown off of a waterfall. Um, it's unclear by the storyteller who he's really in favor of out of the two combatants, but like it's kind of an impressive story nonetheless. Like there's lightning striking the cliffside. There's brilliant flashes of magic between the two. Um, and it all kind of crescendos with the story of the sorceress being uh, tossed again over the cliff, and no shred of her armor, no piece of her was found again down the river. Um, some kind of wild fairy tale-ish stories similar to that bandied about, um, and um, as the sunlight begins to creep over the horizon. Um, sorry. uh, you see just kind of the watery dawn over what you can kind of make out as the horizon of the ocean to your east. You also see a creeping fog that you maybe hadn't really s- caught or had much notice of before as it was so dark. But the light kind of reflects enough so that you can see the fine mist sort of swirling around the fringes of your vision. And oddly enough, as the sun continues to rise, it doesn't get thinner. You see around you some of the bright green trees and light soft grasses in full growth, kind of beginning to give way to more lurching pines with dark bark and branches and boughs that are muddled by the now climbingly tall pillars of fog, and the ground beneath you gets softer and wetter, and the earth goes from a warm clay to a dark and almost rich looking earth that is pocked with pits and filled with water. This terrain almost creeps up in its change. And you guys have been in this area for a while. You've lived near this region for some time. These are not the plants. This is not the earth. This is not the weather of this land. Um, and as you are walking, there's more quiet within the forest, and there's less hoof steps, less grinding of wagon axle, less clatter of wheel on the road, and the mist continues to creep and crawl and almost pull at your clothes. You begin to feel the damp and the heaviness of it. I need everyone to make a constitution saving throw against exhaustion. Very good rolls to start. Very good rolls to start. And at about the time that you were beginning to feel the greatest weight and sort of the pressing and choking of the mist is suddenly when you realize that as close as you were to the wagons, as sure as you were that you were within touching reach of one, fog, the mist, the clouds swirl in front of your vision, and even reaching out, you find nothing but the cold air and silence. And you can barely see the three of you on the road next to each other in this pressured space. And then, like layers, clouds begin to part. The mist peels back, and you see the trees around you. These tall evergreens, this gray grass, this black earthen path. No wagons, no Vistani song, just the three of you where you were not before.
Well, this seems counterproductive to bringing us to Madame Eva.
This this is well beyond the borders of Daggerford, but there's no way we could have traversed this. Oh,
Well,
right.
yes, they said they had some means of getting us to somewhere.
Mm.
Beyond me how it was managed, but here we are.
I mean, we certainly are somewhere. What we're supposed to do at this point? Now that's another question. I mean,
I
and
suppose
that's
we start walking until we find someone or something, or
I,
potentially this Madame Eva.
I was going to say we were headed in roughly that direction. Perhaps we continue along that route, and perhaps we will find someone who can direct us to this Madame Eva, or back the way we've come. But they did say that we would need their help to get out of here. So I expect we'll
yeah.
have better luck
Although
finding our way to this Madame Eva than back to Daggerford.
they did also say that we would need their assistance to get to Madame Eva, and that did not seem to work out so well. But I guess we'll just continue walking down the road, and I at least I can be thankful that I have good company.
You continue down this road, and it is a wide road intended for traffic, but the weathering of it indicates that the only thing that walks along this route are likely the stray animal or the lost individual. You can only see perhaps 4 to 5 trees deep off of the side of the road before an opaque wall of fog obscures your vision. Hear birds, ravens cawing to one another from the trees, and occasionally the scamper of a prey animal, and the silence as it stops moving. You walk for perhaps half an hour more, although looking up, you see a light but covered sky. It's hard to determine what time of day it might be or how much time has passed. Let me just look at some stuff on your sheets real quick. For some time, it is a quiet and plain walk. And then Zeldrin and Arium, the both of you, as you are walking, it only barely catches your attention. But there is something that is somewhat strangely shaped, that is packed under a bush off the side of the road, very, very close to the road. And the only reason it stands out is because it is something that is evidently not covered in mud, and it just appears to be a bundle of cloth.
Strange to see out here where there has been nearly no traffic for some time. Pull it out onto the road.
You pull out what appears a very small, maybe 1 foot bundle, which is interesting, as many of you have just received some, but this one is entirely made of cloth and with a dull gray fabric of a cloak that has been wrapped around the entirety of it.
Peculiar indeed. I'll cast Detect Magic.
There is nothing magical about this.
Seems mundane enough. I do love gifts.
By all means.
I will open the package.
You unbind it, and the cloak that is the outside layer of it falls away, revealing a fur lining of gray, uh, soft fur. And there is within a bundle of other not as nicely folded clothes, some layers of some skirts, a corset, and some uh, finer undergarments as well, that are all of an unfamiliar pattern. They carry a ruffling and a weight to the fabric that is not within a fashion you would recognize, and everything is sort of again like a light and pleasant gray, bluish, some lighter purples in there as well. Kind of potentially expensive looking, but just strange.
Well, if these are just someone's spare clothes, I can only assume they were left here for a reason. I wouldn't want someone to be in need of their clothing and not find it. Unless any of you have a reason that we should keep this.
No, to the
Don't think that it
contrary.
is.
I mean, I think we should not only put them back, but perhaps we should hide and keep an eye on them for a while. I mean, they're not muddy, which means someone put them there recently. Perhaps they'll be back for them, or someone else will be back for them, and then at least we'll have another individual that we can speak to and question about what direction we should head or where we should go, or perhaps if they know Madame Ava.
I that seems reasonable that someone would return for these things if they were left here. Although, why leave them here?
Good question. A question that could be answered by whomever retrieves them. Say, we have not rested in some time. I wouldn't mind doing a bit of a stakeout. I'll fold the clothes up back like I found them and tuck them away again. Well, let us find ourselves a hiding spot. May the ever shifting shape changer bless us with stealth, and I will try to find a hiding spot to watch.
How far do you wander off the road?
Um, being in a strange land, I think not very far.
All right.
Uh, keeping
Uh,
keeping the road also in view.
I know we want to hide, but is it perhaps better if we are simply obvious? So that should they see us before we notice them, that we don't look like we are waiting in ambush instead of hoping to get questions answered? Or we could
Fair, but
divide, I suppose.
anyone who is coming to retrieve stashed clothing, I can't imagine would want to be seen doing so. I just don't want us to scare them off before we see them.
Valid point. Valid point.
No, I know it's unlikely, but just to be on the safe side, if you'll give me a moment, and I will um, close my eyes and uh, clasp both hands around an amulet that I'm wearing, and I will breathe deep and see if there are any celestial fiends or undead within 60 feet.
60 feet. No, none that you can detect.
Well, thank you for indulging me in my um, overabundance of caution, but at least in the immediate vicinity, I don't want any nasties about.
Well, you keep a nose out for nasties. Here to help you with your vigilance. I'll do the vigilant blessing on Zezarak.
Cool. Do you want to throw that one in chat for me?
Yes, I did.
Did you? Oh. I'm in dark mode and sometimes it doesn't keep to the bottom of chat.
It's been happening like that for me too.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
I'm
I
not in
love
dark mode
Roll20
and
so
I'm
much.
having
I
that
love
problem.
it. It's the fucking best.
As a man adamantly against migraines, dark mode is
Yeah.
worth suffering for.
Trying to, I think there was part of the character mancer or character building process that dark mode was just like, here you go, here's black writing on a black background. It's like, oh, thanks for that.
All right. So it sounds like Zeldrin is interested in uh, looking for a campsite. I know, Tyler, you just got up to take Miles out of the shower, but I do need you to roll a survival check.
I can assist. Well, excuse me, I can assist. I am actually trained in survival.
All right. Tyler, would you like me to roll, or do you want to run in? Okay. Give advantage. Oh. The dampness of the clothes, the strangeness of the land, are not familiar enough to you to feel really comfortable in a secure place, but one that is secluded enough. Now, just to be clear, someone are you trying to be obvious if someone comes back for these clothes or no? Hide in or no?
Um, yeah, I think I would. Uh, I would agree with Ariam's point and say, well, maybe just on the side of the road opposite the clothes, so we're easy to spot. But
Mhm.
it doesn't look like we're right on top of whomever left that stuff, though.
Yeah, not like we're guarding the clothing, but rather that we just happen to be nearby
Right.
and we can see if someone tries to sneak in to get them.
Okay. So as you all unroll bedrolls and such, is that accurate?
Mm.
And prepare to take some time to breathe in trance. Um, are you setting up a watch?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'll stay up for like the first 4 hours and then we can,
yeah, absolutely. I'll
stagger our
take.
Yeah.
trances by like 2 hours
That's
each.
what I was trying to say. Yeah, I couldn't get the math to work out in my head, but yes.
So Zeldrin, with high passive perception, is up first. I think, though, since you are going to be watching, I'll have you roll a perception check.
Okay, would you roll it for me?
Yeah. Oh, that's not you. That's not you. Perception. A 22. You're there for 30 minutes or so into your break, and with a 22, some ways away, you can hear that the crowing of birds quiet, and you have the feeling of being watched. There's sort of the sense and then the sounds of animals encroaching. They are far away, but you have such keen sense and sight. You are being whispered uh, by your protectors that you are not safe here.
I will let my companions know that we should probably just move along.
That's all I need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Are we
can you lay down?
just leaving the bundle then? I don't see any reason to necessarily bring it with us.
Yeah,
We
I
can't
guess
see a town from here.
we could hang out. It is just a matter of we might must defend ourselves. Sensing many animals nearby that do not wish us well.
Well, you want to give it another 30 minutes or so, see if anyone comes by for those clothes, and if not, we will head on down the road.
Are those beasts more than 30 minutes away? Or are they close?
You sense that they are close enough to be a very real present threat to you at this moment, but they are not closing. Sorry, Tyler, did you catch that?
Sorry, no.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You're dadding. You can sense that the animals are close enough to be a threat to you at this moment if they chose, and yet they are not closing.
Uh, Truly, we are at their mercy. Should they decide to make their move, we are already within their range.
A bit late to run then.
I'd say our best bet is just ease on down the road, and hopefully they will continue to keep their distance. If, however, they choose this day to die, well, then so be it.
Perhaps we should light another torch. I will light another torch just to be safe, I think. Maybe the fire will keep them at bay a little longer.
You light another torch, you pack your things, take back to the road. Black pools of water stand like dark mirrors in and around the muddy roadway. Giant trees loom on both sides of the road with their branches clawing at the mist. And Zeldrin, you feel the presence of these animals staying a measured pace away. You can almost feel like they are breathing on you. And Arium, your torch extinguishes. An hour's passed. And as you walk, suddenly, in front of you, jutting from the impenetrable woods on both sides of the road, high stone buttresses looming gray in the fog, with huge iron gates hanging on the stonework. Dew clings to the cold oh, that's the wrong word. Dew clings with cold tenacity to the rusted bars. Two headless statues of armed guardians flank the gate, their heads now in weeds at the feet of the statues. They greet you with only silence. Leo, I have a picture for this. I'm gonna be sad if I don't have a picture for this. I do. Hold on. Ta-da!
Oh wow, these are enormous.
Yes, they're quite big. They are a fraction of something that seems even greater that has long since been worn away. Walking towards these gates, you can see on the other side yet more road and more forest. And then suddenly, apart from the sense, the paranoia Zeldrin is heeding, all three of you hear the sound of hurried hoofbeats coming closer and closer from behind. A single horse with a clattering of what sounds like armor or metal as it runs from the mist towards you.
Step off the road, like just off the road, so I make sure that I am not about to get trampled.
Yeah, I do the same, but also reach back so I have one hand on the double-bladed scimitar.
Right? I'm assuming Zeldrin follows.
Yes.
You all duck to the side of the road in time for perhaps less than a minute later to see the galloping form of a horse charging towards the gates. Only this horse is curiously bare of everything of spriding of its leathers, of any formal armor, of its hide, of its flesh. You see only a skeleton of a horse, mounted by another skeletal figure who clatters in its rusted, pathetic plate mail, dragging in a fused, bony hand, a longsword that pierces the ground and clatters against stones as the slumped figure rides towards the gates. And as it approaches, these gates pull themselves open and allow this rider to pass and remain open.
Yeah, I'm darting inside the gates.
Yep.
All right, shake a leg.
The three of you duck inside. The horse and rider gallop on and on and on. Let's see. What do I have next for you?
We all did just see that was.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I just
Duh.
wanted to make sure we were all on the same page.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have some work to do here, whether we find Madame Ava or not.
On down the road you continue. Towering trees, tops lost in heavy mist, block out all but the death gray light of the sun. Let's see. Uh, Tree trunks grow unnaturally close to each other. The woods have have the silence of a grave, yet exude the feeling of an unvoiced scream. There is, as you begin to walk, the creeping and growing, unmistakable scent of death, something rotting and sick. It is growing stronger as you walk, as if you are approaching something. Eventually, you pass it. Certainly a source to this smell. Giving you the opportunity to investigate if you so choose. You do not
Oh, yeah,
have to.
definitely.
All right.
Just so I'm clear, in terms of landscape, it
Mhm.
looks similar or the same inside the gate as, or on this side of the gate as on the other side? Or,
So far, yes.
okay, great.
So you can turn around, begin sort of smell tracking. I'm not even going to make you roll for it. It's strong enough. Um, you find a half dug grave, with a half filled or a half filled hole, uh, and a half buried corpse in the underbrush, not less than 10 feet from the road.
Hmm. Um, without disturbing the body, I will just try to give the part that is sticking out of the ground a once over, see if I can determine, like, are there very obvious wounds on it? Are there, is it what was this person in life? That sort of thing.
Yeah. Why don't you give me a medicine check or survival?
Ooh, survival. I'm
Yeah,
actually trained in.
that's the one I meant, but then I started thinking I got in my own head.
No, medicine would also make sense, but I'm actually trained in this one, so not good. 9.
It's okay. A lot of this stuff becomes immediately obvious to you, even partially buried. This thing is incredibly muddy. The clothes are torn and raked with obviously claw marks. Um, some of the flesh has been pecked at by carrion birds, likely. Um, there are also paw prints in the mud all around for very large paws. You see even part of this figure who remains likely a humanoid at least, um, uh, tall enough to be anything taller than to be more than a short folk. Um, uh, one of his torn hands holds something crumpled in it.
Yeah, I will pull out a dagger to try to pry it out of there. It's not that I'm squeamish, it's just that who knows what sort of diseases this fellow had.
You pry loose a bit of a torn and certainly damaged remains of a letter with a B, the letter B, on the wax seal that remains mostly intact as it was in the center of the fold.
Chap was a courier of some sort, I expect. He the letter was well, I suppose he could have written the letter. Should I open it? I'm going to open it.
Yeah, certainly.
Should I open it? I'll open it, and I'll open it.
Of course you should open it.
But I mean, if you don't, it would have just rotted there.
Hail thee of might and valor, I, the burgomaster of Barovia, send your honor with despair. My adopted daughter, the fair Irina Kolyana, has been these past nights bitten by a vampire. For over 400 years, this creature has drained the lifeblood of my people. Now my dear Irina languishes and dies from an unholy wound caused by this vile beast. He has become too powerful to conquer. So I say to you, give us up for dead and encircle this land with the symbols of good. Let holy men call upon their power that the devil may be contained within the walls of weeping Barovia. Leave our sorrows to our graves and save the world from this evil fate of ours. There is much wealth entrapped in this community. Return for your reward after we are all departed for a better life. Kolyan Indirovich, Burgomaster. Hmm. Well, I don't like the sound of them leaving this place locked up for us all to die in.
Oh, but we won't die. We have experience with vampires. It'll be easy.
Yes, it seems the Twilight Rider puts us where we're needed after all.
You don't suppose this one has a ship, do you? Maybe that's how it came to this place.
Well, we
May-
did catch sight of the sea before we found ourselves in these misted lands.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I meant one of those astral ships that you all
Ah,
told me about. With the vampirates and all that.
Well, it's certainly possible, but at least the vampires that I've encountered were never quite as vicious as is described in this letter here. They're oddly
draining the
enough,
lifeblood of a people for 400 years. Must
yeah.
grow strong in that time.
I wonder who this letter was for.
Thee of might and valor.
Yes, but well, I suppose he was simply calling on anyone to seal this place away.
May I see that letter for a moment?
Mhm.
And I'm gonna do my best with whatever I've got. I don't think I've got a pen on me, but I'm gonna do whatever I can to scratch a little R between the TH and the EE in the. Then I'm gonna hand it back and I say, I think it's for us.
Adam, could you take a point of inspiration?
I'll just hold on to this, and I will fold it up and put it in my bag. Well, rest well, good courier. Your message reached its parent intended targets.
I am then going to take some time and not make a proper grave, but at least fully bury this body.
Okay. There are
And once
crows and ravens who hang in the trees and watch you. What was that, Adam?
once I am done, I will just you know do the best I can to clean myself up a little bit and wipe the dirt from my hands, and I'll look up into the trees and say, "Well, uh, y'all are now free to undo the work I've just done." Now let's
Ravens sit and don't move. They just continue to watch you as you get back to the road.
let's try and find some of these individuals who have been victimized over these past 400 years. There must be a settlement or a village or something around here.
Hmm.
Where this
Somehow looking
arena
upon
might
these
be.
ravens, I don't feel like it's the Leaf Lord that watches over us.
Tyler's a name dropping like a motherfucker.
I don't have a list of all the gods pulled up that I'm.
I didn't mean to look over and see that on your desktop, but I did. Back to the road and past the. Any more torches being lit?
I'll light a torch this time.
All right. Past at least the use of one torch as you continue through. The trees around you begin to lift some. You get the feeling and sense that the terrain around you picks up, and you are perhaps in foothills of some kind, of some mountain that you don't quite yet see, um, and the road pretty directly, rather easily, continues onwards. Zeldrin, you don't ever lose the feeling of being watched, but you do, perhaps, after nearly 3 hours, perhaps, ish, give or take, you suddenly feel that there is a change. It's the presence that is watching you moves from maybe more than curiosity to hunger, and the distance begins to close. Put you guys on a map. And you are traveling this way. If there is a marching order you'd like to establish in any form, please feel free to do so.
I'm good towards the front. I cannot see bars for either of them, if that
Oh, that's
is
right.
intended.
I hate, I hate, I hate, I hate. You know what? I'm gonna do it
Bless you,
later.
Tyler. Fair enough.
Zeldrin, you feel on every side something begin to close. And it becomes apparent even then, even to Arium, Not so much as Zezarak. Your
Yeah, not a
perception is
shot.
not very good.
No.
um, but you are being not just followed, but stalked. And there is suddenly the sounds of growling from the trees as things are getting much, much closer.
Yeah,
We are
definitely
going.
pull a weapon.
All right. We are going to take a break. I will fix the tokens, and we're going to roll initiative.
Woo.
Session ones include so much talking. How's everybody feeling so far?
Pretty
A
good.
little creeped
Pretty
out.
good. Yep.
I mean, good, but a little creeped out. But I imagine that's the vibe we're going for
Probably
here.
not text unless
I am very glad that we're getting creeped out already.
A little creepy vibes.
I'm very, very, very glad. I am looking forward to moving past some of the description blocks that are not just like the trees are creepy. Like, yeah,
Right.
like,
Right. Yeah, we get it.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's good that it's there. It's evocative, but also, yeah, we get it. Creepy trees. Creepy paper.
How are we doing? How's everybody feeling about their guys and what's going on?
Pretty solid. I got to try
yeah.
not to sound like Corsonis.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm questioning my vocal choices, but that's happened. So we'll just see how that evolves over time.
Yeah.
I
I thought
like
it
it.
was funny you went for something that would be easy for Tyler to do, and Tyler had already decided he wasn't going to do that.
I just haven't figured out how to do it yet. We'll see what happens.
I meant specifically like like west slash like southern something that would be like
Uh-huh.
tonally
Yeah,
easy for
yeah,
you to do.
yeah.
I imagined that as the sessions progress, Tyler and I will probably merge,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
whatever we're doing right now is nowhere near what the final form will look like.
So, back into the woods and into the mists. We have the sight beyond that Zeldrin has, and the shift in the air as predators begin to enclose that Arium can can pick up and prepares everyone for, and breaking through the trees. Um, we have uh, large matted furred forms, all on four paws, with long furry tails, snouts snarling, and and almost a hungry look to their bodies, but a oddly enough spiteful look in their eyes as small pack, I say small, but a few dire wolves, huge in their size, um, begin closing their circle around the three of you. Arium is up first in initiative to defend himself.
Okay. Um. Oh boy, I was thinking like regular wolves, but this is a lot of dire wolves.
Yes. You have, and I'll say this now to make it very clear, the opportunity to try to flee if you so choose.
Hmm. I will. I don't want to just take off without confirmation from the others on if we're going to run. I will. You know what? Fuck it. I will go ahead and as a bonus action, the silver greenish skin will begin to stretch and scales will sprout and he practically doubles in size and turns into a hulking shark creature.
I never get tired of watching that.
It this new form will turn very briefly to look at the brothers and simply snarl out, "We going or what?" And I will spend my action right now just to dodge.
Okay. Zezarak, as these giant bodies, things, their eyes are high enough, even in their squatting and preparedness to pounce at your own eye level. Their shoulders feet above your own head. Um, as these things get closer, what would you like to do?
Um, I am going to say, look, let's get out of here. And I'm going to move like halfway down the road. I'm
Hmm.
going to take the dodge action.
Hmm.
And no, that's it.
Right. So how this is going to work is one wolf obviously has their turn. If Zeldrin, you also choose to flee, then we are not going to leave combat technically, but we will have a skill challenge that I'll have you guys perform. But I had initiative rolled essentially to like determine your uh
Do we get pounced on or not?
yeah. And the very large and meaty thing that just shapeshifts in front of them catches the attention most directly. of the fastest of these wolves, who will have disadvantage to attack. And when he snaps out with his jaws wide enough to take your whole head within, with only an 11 to hit, does not pierce your hide. Zeldrin, it's your turn.
Do-do.
I'm sorry, I completely blanked. Did I get hit?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a miss.
I will not draw my warhammer, but I will like hold my shield kind of more at the ready. I'll pull it off my back, and then I will say a small prayer, and the area around me will glow with a twinkling of silver starlight, and I'm going to use my channel divinity, Twilight Sanctuary. So I've got a 30-foot radius sphere of twinkling light, and then I will just use my action to move over here. Not using my full movement so that I don't leave the direwolf's range, but I get up there next to everyone.
All right. So, Zazarak has said, "Let's get out of here." Zeldrin, is this something you're? Are you waiting for your companions so you all move together, or are
Yes.
you okay? All right. So now,
If I
with what?
may,
Yes.
right? And perhaps this will just be part of the skill challenge because I realize I've already had my turn.
Mhm.
But once we all start running, I would
Oh,
like to cast
sorry.
sleep at some point.
Okay. Your aura popped up and it's very big.
It didn't pop up for me, is why I looked over at your screen.
All right. So I think we will count that as part of the skill challenge.
Great.
Why don't you roll me those dice so I see if this will have
Hmm.
an effect that'll help.
Not great.
No. Unfortunately, no, which will not sway any favor towards you.
Right.
So how
Gotcha.
this is effectively going to work, any of you can make a bid for an argument for something different, but effectively, uh, what I would like to primarily do, since you are fleeing, I need athletics checks to get away from wolves. I need to see how well you guys can endure sprinting away from wolves. If you have any other things you'd like to try instead, I'm very interested in creativity.
Might I be able to use acrobatics instead of athletics and use the natural terrain as sort of an obstacle course that I can try and navigate better than these wolves?
I will say if you do that, that would require leaving the road. And you would be running through the forest.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. So I'll just stick with the athletics.
Okay. Holy shit.
19.
Strong.
19. You get a +1 for being big.
I get the advantage for being big.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I have a
Oh,
crit
sorry. I
failure.
was looking at the wrong numbers. Okay. Excellent. All right. Oh, that was close. Fuck. um, so the wolves are in pursuit, and you can hear their pounding feet and their claws against any stones that they catch. You can hear their snarling and their baying, and it is some minutes of running that you are beginning to feel the weight of, and just in pure movement, in no other attempts to hide or in other ways magically avail yourself from this space, which limited capabilities anyway, this is the best thing you really have. um there is just the building heat within each of you as you are beginning to strain against what is pu- the the pursuit itself. And suddenly, as you are running down this road, as it stretches out and begins to straighten, you can see clearing in the fog. Some of the trees don't necessarily thin, but part. And you can see foothills of a mountain proper, something huge that climbs into the clouds. And at the foot of it, there is just the smear of a wall, a city wall on the horizon, nestled into one of the coves and one of the uh, one of the dips in the hill. And with the thought that perhaps you could make it that far, but you certainly would wear out before then, there is suddenly a cry from one of the dogs behind you. One of the wolves yelps, um, and another as well. Uh, uh, Sharp cries of pain. Any chance you have to look back, you see two of them slowed significantly with arrows pierced into their fur. Um, you hear someone shouting in the trees that just says to your right, and calls to you to run off of the road.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'll
Hmm.
follow that advice.
Okay. Could the three of you make, well, Zeldrin, do you follow?
Yes, yeah. Zeldrin's a trustworthy kind of guy, or a trusting kind of guy.
Okay. Could the three of you make me dexterity saving throws? All right. Zeldrin, a little bit hotter on your feet, and quickly through, your feet catch on something, and a snared rope and a net pulled from the grass lifts you up into the sky. The other two, a little bit behind you, are not caught in this rope. And as the hounds begin following you, the two of you feel um, some of the earth uh, soft under your weight gives way to the heft of the wolf that is closest behind. The one immediately following that is moving too quickly to skid to any halt. So the two of them collide into one another and fall into what is obviously then some form of pit trap, dense enough that that your weight did not break it. You hear the cries of them as they land on one another, and then piercing, shredding. Possibly looking down, you can see a spiked trap beneath the brush, and the two thrash and bark at one another in a pit that now appears to be some 15, maybe 20 feet deep. Very, very deep pit, considerably. And Zeldrin dangles from a net trap in above a tree.
Well, I guess it got me out of the way, and I'll use my Starlight Step to teleport out of it.
When he reappears back on the ground, I'll brush him off.
There's some clattering through the underbrush. Someone, very clearly just a single person, making himself obvious. A fellow with light, uh, kind of dirty blonde hair, and relatively paler skin, kind of squarish face, and a solemn expression. Um, in leathers, with a quiver and a bow, comes forward, and he says, "That was luck divine. Glad you are all right."
Well, luck and also your aid. Thank you.
I was hunting in these woods. I didn't expect to find travelers, much less ones who could outrun wolves.
We've had experience running from creatures of the night.
What brings you to Barovia?
We got invited, didn't we? Some woman, Madam Ava, sent her travelers looking for us.
Group called the Vistani invited us here to speak with them, then promptly disappeared.
I don't suppose our luck has continued to the point where you might be familiar with any of these names.
His brow uncreases slightly, and he says, "Vistani, a name we know. They are travelers in these lands. They may pass through the mists at their own desire.
Hmm.
Adameva, that is not a name I know."
Well, perhaps I could give you 3 more names that you could know. My name is Zezarak Sontrada. This is my brother, Zeldrin. And this here is Arium.
Rokea,
We are in your debt,
Arium's
sir.
the little guy.
My apologies, Rokam. We are in your debt.
Ismark Kolyanovich, and he sticks out his hand to shake.
I will shake his hand. So I don't suppose there's a town nearby.
He looks over his shoulder to the north, and says, "The city, Barovia's just down this way. You're less than a mile away, or less than an hour away."
Kolyanievich, any relation to Kolyan Indirovich or Irina Kolyana?
He is struck, and he is my father and my sister. Not by blood, but my sister.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound as though we know these folks personally. We came across a courier or well a
What was left of him? Here, he was carrying this. I will produce the letter.
He looks at it. Certainly, the seal of the burgomaster, but my father is dead. This letter must have been written some time ago. Not long dead, but
well, yeah, this the person carrying it was just outside the gates, the big ones with the decapitated statues.
I've only seen them from this side. But I know the gates you speak of.
Well, we are grateful that we did not have to be the bearers of horrible news. Is there anything that we can help you with on your hunt?
He looks down at the pit of the rolling and roaring uh, wolves, and he says, "There might be some time left in the day before I should return. Are you skilled in hunting?"
In a manner of speaking.
Well, I could use any help I could get. My sister wishes to host a funeral. Should anyone come for company, we'll need to feed them.
Uh, I'll look to Rokea and Zeldrin, and I feel like it's the least we can do for saving our hides.
I will gesture towards the pit that contains the two wolves. What about them? Is they edible? For you, I mean.
He sort of shrugs and he says, "I suppose. Well, they are the favored pet. He'll know if they're dead. But then,
Uh,
either them or us."
I don't know who he is, but if someone's watching them, then best they's expiring there when we's elsewhere. What sort of game are we looking for in these woods?
You can hunt deer, rabbits well enough. Be careful. If you stray too far into the woods, the Svalak roads will be lost to you.
Right.
He takes a step back and begins looking deeper into the forest, clearly beginning his own survival checks. So, for those of you who are interested in aiding, what skills would you like to bring to bear?
I can also assist with survival or simple perception, just literally sniffing them out at this point.
Yeah, I will. I can use my magic eyes to look for any signs of movement or uh, anything like that.
Um, yeah, I'm not much of a hunter, apparently. I um I am probably best to chase down and finish off any wounded animals would be my guess as my best use here.
Okay. So I'm thinking I'll allow for, based on skills listed, either survival or perception checks for Rokea and Zeldrin. And I think Zezarak, I think I'll have you make. I'll
Oh
I'll let
no.
you do an No, I don't think acrobatics is gonna be. I'll let you do a dexterity based check,
Mhm.
to like get to anything and get to it quick. Sleight of hand maybe or something, but like I'll let you do dex something. Oh no, that's not a very good roll.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, do you just want a straight dex roll then? Because, I mean, acrobatics is a dex check.
That is true. But I'm thinking acrobatics as far as this skill set goes is probably not right. It'd be closer to like a sleight of hand. So
Okay, well,
just
I'll just do a stealth
yeah,
check.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Good thing
that's a
one of us is
stealth. Yes,
useful.
that's very good. I forgot that I was trying to think of the dex skill that is like acrobatics, but
Mhm.
isn't acrobatics. It's fucking stealth. Thank you. Okay. These woods are too strange, filled with too many. The fog is hard to see through. The smells are unusual. Between your two adapted skills, uh, this is still too foreign for Rokea and Zeldrin. However, with a couple of marks and quarries indicated by Ismark, wow, I said that very strange that time. Uh, Ismark, Zezarak, you can aid in at least the taking down of a relatively um, not well looking doe, but a doe nonetheless, which is several pounds of meat. Um, and he will, without bothering to take care of any of it now, just take the killed animal onto his shoulders and uh, say, "This is sufficient. We should return to town." Begins walking down the road. And I think I am going to now show you the map of the lands you have entered. Guys are down here. I am obsessed with this map. It's very fucking good.
Did you ping again where we were?
Mhm.
I was
As
moving the map at the same time as you, so it didn't bring me there. Nice.
as you are walking, you see the rise more completely of the mountain to the northeast. That sort of shelters the village at the in the foothills that you are evidently walking towards, and some of the clouds lift just enough that you can begin to see also the wide valley of dark trees, these evergreens that are uh, dense and beautiful and tall, unlike any tree you've seen before, and mirroring the mountain to the northeast is a western peak that seems much more intimidating and snow covered and gray. And in truth, as bleak and as dark as much of this looks, there is a majesty to the closeness that everything is. These mountains are enormous, these trees are full and lush, and it is gorgeous from this little hill that you peek over as you begin down into the valley. Ismark asks you, "So, Bastani brought you in. Do you have any plans for time here in Barovia?"
They told us something about a prince needs talking to, get his curse lifted or something. Right now, I'd settle for finding them or finding this Madam Ava.
"Ah, well, you may find some Vistani in the village, but I don't know. Well, I am the Burgermeister's son. Not many people live in the village that I don't know of. That name is unfamiliar. As for their prince, I suppose it could be what you call him. The master of this land has many names and faces. They call him a prince, then perhaps he was one, but For now, he is the keeper of the castle. To us, he is the lord of our village. Miles, go to bed.
The
Power
lord of the village is
Miles.
Miles. Got it. I mean, that's been a real long play on your part, Max. Holy moly. Um, does this lord have a name?
He does. Yeah. Zarovich. Strad von Zarovich. He keeps in Castle Ravenloft, a home that he built many, many, many generations ago.
This von Zarovich wouldn't happen to be uh the entity that your father wrote about in that letter.
Certainly the same. My sister has been visited by Zarovich, I think now on 2 accounts. Maybe only a matter of time before she's either taken, devoured, or worse.
Well, may it be our goal now to prevent that.
You wish to stand against the master of this land. That is a humbling thought. He kind of smiles.
Twilight Rider shows us to stand against all of those creatures which relish in the darkness and feed upon those who uh, are subjugate to it.
I don't think I know that name.
Arleth Lathanriel. A deity, the one that I follow.
Here we pray to the Mother of the Night to protect us from those in the dark. But it sounds as if those blessings and prayers may go nearly to the same places. You should go well with your faith in a place such as Barovia.
Mother of the Night. I can think of a Daughter of the Night Skies, which I pay respect to, but I'm sure they agree in many ways.
He nods, hoists the dough a little bit more comfortably across his shoulders. He's referring to his cookie dough, Tyler. What?
You said dough as I was grabbing a cookie.
When we reach the village, I will have to leave some of this with the owner of the tavern. I'd open my home to you, but I feel as if I should ask Irina before I invite strangers in. If nothing else, you may stay at the tavern.
All right, how much longer we got walking? Also, how long has it been?
You've probably closed about half of the distance between when since when you've changed, you mean?
Yeah, because it only lasts for an hour.
We'll say that it starts to falter about now then, because you had to hunt and kill a doe.
Before he changes back, Rokea will reach into his bag, pull out a jar of some greenish liquid with hunks of no one really wants to know floating inside, he will pop one into his mouth, reseal the jar, and put it back in his bag before turning back into himself, or before turning back into Arium.
I'm telling you, don't ask, Ismark.
Yeah, he is a little dumbfounded.
You're just gonna want to roll with that.
I once thought to sneak a taste one night. It was regretful.
After Rokea transforms back into Arium, I will rub Arium's shoulders from behind him. Just, how you feeling, big guy?
Well, fine, I suppose. Long walk. Could really, really do with, I don't know, something to. Well, no, I won't say something to break up the monotony, because the last time that happened, we were running from wolves. So I'm doing great. How's everyone doing? That's
Well, I
good.
think,
That's good. Fantastic.
yeah. Well, I do think things are looking up. We I've met Ismark here, and we're
Yes,
actually
yes.
headed to a place where we might be able to lay our head for more than 30 or 40 minutes.
Yes, yes. Something about having to check with Arena before opening his home. Appreciate the gesture, but the tavern should do us fine.
Yes, and at the end of the day, either way, I hear there's someplace we might be able to sleep in peace.
I'm coming back. I just made cookies and forgot a glass of milk. Foolish. All right.
Rookies.
The muddy ground underfoot begins to give way to slick, wet cobblestones in the road. Tall shapes become recognizable as village dwellings, and the little bit of the wall that you saw, you recognize now kind of just as crumbling, um, uh, no higher than garden gates in stonework, and much of the height that was offered was actually just the smooth once whitewashed walls of many of these houses, um, that now are smoke stained or gray with dirt. The windows of each house stare out at you from pools of blackness within. No sound cuts the silence except for mournful sobbing that seems to echo in the street from some distance. And Ismark walks you through the city. You pass by several individuals who wear, again, drab, more or less plain clothing that seems in, again, a historical fashion. Um, Layers of padded wear and shapes and textures of fabric that none of you would be familiar with, even if you weren't weirdos in your own land. um, and the faces of the people who you pass are all uh, not long and sorrowful, but just of slight curious wonder and then almost a uh, pitying turn away from you as they continue upon whatever chores they might be performing that day or tasks they've busied themselves with. Ismark takes you to oh, I've got a city map. I think. Yes, I do.
Map, map, map.
It's a much smaller map. Let's see. You enter from the road here, uh, and are taken to actually square center of town, to a very large building. Uh, a single shaft of light thrusts illumination into the main square, its brightness looking like a solid pillar in the heavy fog. Above the gaping doorway, a sign hangs precariously askew, proclaiming this to be the Blood of the Vine Tavern. This building is brick with some whitewashing that has been done over. It's significantly different texture than the rest of the plaster buildings that you see, um, with warmer colors painted upon the tile roofing, but less effort kept in maintaining. Let's see. Ismark leads you inside. You see a pudgy halfling individual behind the bar, three women who sit in one corner of the tavern, who all wear s- knotted scarves and colorful ribbons in their hair, um, uh, wearing some of the more modern and layered clothing and lighter colors that you saw some of the Vistani um, last night wearing as well. They are huddled in one corner together talking. Ismark goes to the bar with the dough and shouts out, "Eric, I'm going to take this into the back if that's all right. These are guests," and he gestures towards the three of you. "I'll pay for whatever they take." And he walks into the back. The halfling smiles at the three of you and says, "Welcome, welcome. Uh, my name is Eric. Is there anything we can be doing for the three of you, eh, outsiders?"
Yes, we understand there might be rooms available here for us to stay in this evening.
Well, I'll have to shake some of the cobwebs out of some sheets if that's all right, but I can dress some beds for you all.
That would be great. It has been some number of hours since we last ate as well.
Oh, well, we can take care of that. Uh, let me see what we might still have. And he hops down and follows Ismark into the back, and then returns a couple of minutes later with some bowls of bread bowls with a heavy and thick kind of grayish chowder in each of them, and places them up on the bar for you.
I
Zeldrin digs in.
don't mean to be difficult, but what what is this exactly?
That would be uh he looks down at it and thinks, and he says, "Warm?" And he kind of leans over the bar and shouts to the three women in the corner, "What do we put in this?" and and one of them kind of huffs and says, "It's my mother's recipe. There's wheat and barley, and it's mostly cream."
Splendid, splendid, splendid. Thank you, I think, very much.
Well, luck seems to continue. They managed to meet Ariam's dietary restrictions.
"If you're a friend of the lesser, we'll do anything we can to help you out." And he smiles.
Very kind of you. Um, was I having a hallucination, or did you describe the women in the corner is being dressed similar to the Vistani.
I did share that, yes.
Okay. Um, I would like to approach and pardon me, if y'all have a moment. My name is Zezarak Sunstrider. Um, we were asked to come to these lands and visit Madam Ava. I'm sorry, but we've sort of lost our guides, and so now I'm just left asking if anyone is familiar with anyone by this name.
At the mention
Do
of her name,
Mhm.
the three of them snap to attention. Um, and say, "Yeah, if you were invited to see Madame Ava, you're some day or so travel away. She usually camps near. Got the name of the lake. 1 second. Ziar Pool. That's not helpful. Jesus. Hold on.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
It's where many Vistani gather for cultural events, spiritual enlightenment, but it's down west on the road, still some miles away. Gotten very lost.
Well, that is certainly true, but we have a much better idea of where we are now, thanks to your kindness. Um, are there people that travel down in that direction regularly?
Well, not many Barovians. Every once in a while our kinsmen come through. There's no predicting when they might. The Wizards of the Wine, uh, are they bring their shipments every once in a while on regular schedule. But we had a shipment some 4 days ago. Probably
Mm.
not due for another month.
Well, my friends and I probably don't want to keep Madame Ava waiting, so I don't know that we could wait another month. Um, and under those circumstances, it sounds like we might be best setting out on our own. Um, but I do imagine, and my experience has taught me that there's generally safety in numbers um, when one hits the road. So perhaps we'll see if anyone from town here is interested in headed to Cheer Pool or any locale close by.
You came in with Ismark the Lesser. You might be fortunate enough to perhaps ask for his aid. Although what aid he might be able to provide, well, the three of them sort of giggle to each other.
Oh, that's an excellent idea. I do appreciate that. Is there anything I could do for you this afternoon?
They sort of look past you towards the kitchens and they say, "Have the Burgermeister's son paying your tab. Best thing you could do for us would probably spend as much of his money as you can." And they smile.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable taking advantage of his kindness to that extent, but I am comfortable enough with buying y'all a round of drinks. How does that sit with you?
Hear that? He's asking if you can buy our own wine for us. That's very sweet. And they nod. No, they like accept your offer. You are becoming aware, possibly, Uh, they are actually the owners of this tavern.
Oh, lovely. And also, unlikely that Zezarek is becoming aware of that.
Yeah, I'll leave that to your discretion.
Yeah. Um. Well, money in the coffers is money in the coffers. And I'll send around that way. And I will go join my compatriots back at the bar. I have some good news. It seems our friends over there not only know of Madame Ava, but know where we might find her. Seems to be about a day's trek to the southwest at a lake called Serpool. What when do y'all think we should head out?
Well, we might speak with our, I guess not host, with. Well, I know the name. I know it.
Ismark?
Ismark. Yeah. Perhaps we speak with Ismark, and we'll be able to get kind of a lay of the land. We should at least probably rest before we uh, make a trek.
Oh
Yes,
yes,
it may.
I'm sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it may also behoove us to speak to um, the one who's been bitten. This Irina.
Mm.
Perhaps she can provide us some details about the creature that is causing so much trouble here. We are interested, it seemed, in protecting these people somewhat. I mean, we have come all this way. It does seem. Well, I mean, this does seem to be within our skill set, and also this feels, I don't want to say destined, but this is the sort of thing we have done for other places in the past, and I know our own histories with Vampire has been troubled, to say the least. I think, providing at the very least this place a place of safe harbor would not go amiss.
Well, no, I concur. I figure the only question is whether we talk to the girl before or after we find Madame Ava and get her take on what to do with the prince of these lands. But in any event, it seems like we are on a collision course with this Rod von Zarovich, and I,
Hmm.
for one, look forward to the opportunity to try and convince him that there's another path. And if that convincing goes as well as all my previous attempts, well, then we will just have to put him down.
We'll see what we can figure out in the morning first, and then take it from there. Or should we perhaps go see this Irina tonight? If she is being, I know we are. I know we are tired. I certainly am tired. Stomach is upset. But still, if if Irina is being targeted by this creature, then perhaps it's best if we speak with her this evening. Assuming she is willing, of course.
Yeah, well, when Ismark returns, I think we pose the question to him so that he can pose it to her, and we'll find out where we stand at that point.
Sounds like a solid course.
You're given a few minutes of quiet with your chowders before Ismark returns, cleaning his hands on a rag after having cleaned and partially butchered an animal, and packaged up some uh, of the material as well, and is working on like fitting it into a bag. Um, and he says, "Is there anything else I can do for you, travelers?"
Well, yes, if you don't mind, um, we have some experience dealing with individuals similar to the Lord of these lands, and we were wondering if you could ask your sister if she is feeling up to um, having some visitors and perhaps answering some questions about what has been going on and what her experience has been. We would very much like to help both you and her personally, as well as the people of this village in general.
He seems a little taken aback by your remark about your experience. But he considers and he says, "I could take you to the manor. You could speak with her directly. She's a strong woman. I think she has the constitution after her father's death. She should answer your questions."
Wonderful. That's very kind of you.
I'll be headed there next. Would you like me to take you now, or do you need time to rest?
Mm. Well, unless my compatriots object, I think there's no time like the present.
Mm-hmm.
My appetite has been satiated. Feel uh, conversation would be nice.
I'll also remark, like, while the food is fine, the wine is surprisingly very, while ordinary, nice. It's a very good and sweet, like, well well uh fermented. Like, it's a good beverage actually. You're kind of surprised by how pleasant it is. It's just yeah, just lore. Ismark begins finishing packing up the remainders of the meat that he's going to take with him, and then takes you back outside of the Blood of the Vine. Um, on this side of the sign, you can see that the N in Vine has been scratched over with an F. Someone's vandalized the sign. Um, and takes you down to this center of the town street, and then up. Where is my arrow? Where is my arrow? There it is. Down south, actually, towards a larger manor that you would have seen parts of as you were headed into town. But now have a better look. Let's see. A weary-looking mansion, squatting behind a rusted iron fence. The iron gates are twisted and torn, the right gate lies cast aside, and the left swings lazily in the wind. There's a stuttering squeal and clang of the gates repeating its precision against itself. Weeds choke the grounds and press with menace upon the house. Yet against the walls the growth has been trampled down to create a path all around the domain. Their heavy claw markings have stripped at the once beautiful finish of the walls. The plaster has been torn and flaked across the grass. Great black marks tell of the fires that have assailed the mansion. Not a pane nor shard of glass stands in any of the windows. They are all barred with planks, each one marked with stains of ill omen. Ismark leads the way inside. Let's see. The interior is well furnished, yet the fixtures show signs of great wear and tear. Noticeable oddities are the boarded up windows, the presence of holy symbols in every room. There is immediately, upon entering through the foyer, an opening into one of the side drawing rooms where there is a simple wooden coffin surrounded by wilting flowers and the graying form of a deceased man, full with his arms folded over his chest, set inside. Ismark calls out into the house, and you hear some steps in further back in, and a striking young woman who bears certainly no physical resemblance to Ismark, nor to the uh, corpse in the side room. She has tanner skin. She does not look weather worn, but just that a deeper pigment and dark brown eyes and beautiful auburn hair that she has plaited back. Um, she wears heavy clothes, uh, unlike some of the stylings of the women you've passed so far. She wears things that cover uh, most of her skin and hide up to like her jawline, collars and layers of coats. She's wearing like a cloak inside the house as well. Um, she comes down to meet you all. We have guests. Was not expecting guests. Ismark, who are these people? And he introduces each of you. They have come to ask you some questions. And then he takes the bundle of food he has into the other room. She looks at you with hesitation and some reserve.
We wish to know more about your. Well, there is no gentle way to ask the question of what you can tell us about the creature that has attacked you. We um, we have some experience in fighting similar creatures, and perhaps we thought that perhaps we might be able to aid you and to aid your village.
You wish to know about Lord Zarovich?
It would seem so.
I do not know him. He says that he knows me. She goes to the clasps at her cloak and begins undoing some of the fastens. He has come to me twice in the past year. He has told me things that I do not understand about who he thinks that I am. And he has taken from me.
And who exactly does he say that you are?
He says I am someone who loves him, and that he loves. But I do not think that I could love a tyrant. And as she takes another clasp off of another layer, she reveals part of her collarbone and her lower neck, which have massive scarring in the shape of teeth marks, and not just like pinprick vampire bites, like jaw ripping, like flesh tearing wounds that have healed, but they look like they've healed very quickly and have left dark red scar tissue.
Is it safe to assume that we have seen similar?
Yes.
Yeah.
My brother thinks that if I were to be farther away from the castle, then perhaps I would remain out of his sight. I do not know that there is a place in Barovia that is out of the sight of Von Zorovich. But I also trust that my brother has my best interests at heart. If I am his victim in this place, then what is the difference if I am to be his victim elsewhere?
Well, with hope, you shan't be his victim anywhere. It is unfortunate that this has happened to you. Tell me, is it so common in these lands to speak out against the lord of the land?
It is no secret that these people have no love for their master. Well, most of them. You should know your company.
Is there anyone in particular who is known to love this Strahd?
In the village of Barovia, I should think not. We are his cattle. The other cities, the ones farther into the valley, Valaki and beyond, perhaps there he has allies, maybe not. He has no need of allies.
Lackeys?
Perhaps that.
Has there been any attempt to stand against Strahd in the past?
Many, many times. You are not the only travelers that have made it into our lands. Some wander through the mists. Some are guests of the Vistani. Some are personally invited by the master himself.
I'm sure you have done well. Perhaps you can tell me of anything that you might have tried that has failed to keep this Von Zarovich away from you. That would simply allow us to thin down our options to do the same.
The only thing that we or the oh, sorry, gotta find the name. The only thing that we, Ismark, our father, and Master Donovich have ever been able to attempt small rituals, the markings of the holy. He does not fear much.
So
He
it
does
would
not
seem.
fear me nor the priests.
I know it's a bit off topic, but I, I can't help but notice the coffin and the corpse in your living room. Who is that?
My
Grimace,
father.
I was wondering the. Oh,
And how long has your father been in the living room in this state?
3 days. Ismark pulled apart some furniture so we could build him a bit of a coffin. Ismark has an easier time leaving this place than I, but we have not found anyone who has been able to proceed to take our father to the church on the other side of town. No one has been brave enough to approach the house. She kind of looks like towards one of the windows. Night after night, wolves come, scratch at the outsides. There are horrible sounds and wailings. Ismark wants me to go to Valaki so that I may be farther away from Castle Ravenloft, but I don't feel good about making any sort of trip anywhere unless my father is buried and put to rest.
Perhaps we could assist with this. Um, whatever you need us for, if it's defense against wolves or to carry something, I'm sure we could lend our hand.
Funerals done in the rites of the Dawn Father are done just as the sun begins to rise. The wolves are here all night. If we could get the casket to the church before then, perhaps Father Donovich will be able to help you there. I would like to be there if I could. I know Ismark would as well.
we have come far, and our journey has not been easy. Um, there is certainly the will to help you with these issues, but perhaps after a little rest and uh, um, well, with a little rest, we should be up to our full strength to assist you in the endeavor of burying your loved one.
She nods, and there's a small break in what is now kind of appearing as a more forced posture, and she wipes away a tear. It would mean a lot to my family.
This person that the Count seems to believe you are, has he ever said a name?
My memories of my time with the Lord are unclear.
Ah, I understand very well. Uh, apologies for the pry.
No, you are right to want to understand. I wish I had a better understanding, but he looks at me and I see that he is starving. It is the only thing that I see for don't even know how long. I just find myself in a different place than the one I had gone to bed.
w- w- do you think that he will come for you this evening? Would you prefer one of us wait with you? I can um, I can allow my companions to rest and watch over you if you are concerned that he may try to spirit you away this evening.
Any protection you could offer would be generous and more than I could ask.
All the same, I will be happy to I will be happy to watch over you in case this creature comes. We have, as we have said, some small experience with these sorts of creatures. I don't know. Um, the ones we have faced may not have their own realm, as this place seems to, or this individual seems to. But perhaps we can still leverage our experience.
Whatever you may offer. Many heroes, many valiant warriors, they have come into Barovia and they have not left. Every little bit provides myself and other people that perhaps one day he may be overthrown. If we all may continue to pray that that may happen, perhaps one day the prayers will be answered.
This Madame Ava that was used to lure us here, if uh, she is in fact a real individual, and if she has the powers of foresight that they have claimed that she possesses, then we can, at the very least, convince him to leave this to leave this and other villages like it safe.
Spoke with Vistani.
Hmm. It was um, they who were waiting in our world to speed us to Barovia. I think you said yes,
Yes.
Barovia. Um, I don't know that they meant anything harmful by it. They seem to genuinely desire to see their lord return to his mind and this land once again protected by him instead of hunted by him.
The Vistani are a blessed people to be under his protection. They have been given gifts either by dark powers or powers of their own, gods of their own. There is wisdom and magic within their blood. Do not know who this Ava is, but should any of them offer you insight or a charm, you should accept it. They may also curse, and I've seen many people succumb to wicked, terrible Vistani curse.
I thank you for the insight. We are all unfamiliar with the customs of Barovia. So uh, for now, I will rest a moment and then I will keep a vigil to make sure that you should remain safe.
Thank you. I can offer a guest room for anyone else who wishes to rest in privacy.
Well, I just assumed we'd all be taking turns maintaining this vigil so that we've at least all also got an opportunity to get some rest. Sounds like we'll have a long day ahead of us tomorrow.
Indeed. The usual round of staggered trances. I'll go over to Arium and offer the vigilant blessing.
As you begin to coordinate, Ismark returns from wherever else wherever else he was. He's discarded some of his leathers and such, and he says, "Did you get every answer you needed?"
Well, for now, I believe so. I think we have decided that we will spend the night here and keep a bit of a vigil, make sure that there are no unwanted visitors. And then looking at my companions, I believe tomorrow we will undertake the business of getting your father's body to the church so that a proper funeral can be had at dawn.
It's very kind. If we are to return, or if we are to bring the body to the church tomorrow, might not be until the next dawn that we will be able to bury him. But all the same, it's more than I can carry myself. So thank you.
Yes, it does beg the question. Do you think these wolves that visit in the house every evening, uh, they portend of the Lord's arrival, or are they more interested in the body? Are we going to have to guard that body at the church come tomorrow?
The wolves have been here for many, many weeks.
Ah,
I think it may
probably
have
not the
been
body then.
actually. Yes, I feel their terror is really eventually what did our father in
Hmm.
the end. Poor man was under more stress than he could bear, and then with Arena's favoritism, he kind of looks over at her and she just gives him a bitter smile. Wasn't much left.
Well, we are sorry for your loss. And we'll do what we can to see that this last ceremony is able to be conducted with some dignity.
Thank you. And with that, I think with you guys establishing a night watch, I think is that where we're going to end our first session.
Ooh.
Good time.